Welcome to the Wolfkeeper, a show that's just about everything that you could maybe think about, everything that you can feel that's inside of your heart. What I need for you to do right now is spend the next hour relaxing. Just stop your day before you go into 12 o'clock. And I just want y'all to close your minds, open your hearts, and relax and go on this journey with me. It's a beautiful place that you're about to go, because I want to make you feel, I want to just open you up and think about some things you never really thought about. Right now, the Wolfkeeper. Come on. Good morning, y'all. Come on. It's the Wolfkeeper show. Get ready. Come on, let's go. Yeah. Woo. Yeah. It's the Wolfkeeper show. Your boy, Toriano Sanzoni. Yeah. Chanelli Nell. My boy Tyrone Scott somewhere rocking the Doogie Dogs. Denzel's in his house. Shacky Shack. And for all the people out there that love us, we love you back. Thank you all. Get ready for an amazing show with the Wolfkeeper. Get ready. Here we go. For all the people out there that love us, we love you back. And even if you don't love us, we're going to love you some more, because we're going to kill you with love all day, every day. I'm Toriano Sanzoni, the Wolfkeeper. I got my fabulous co-host, Chanelli Nell, on our way to the championship. We about to, November 13th, we'll make 100 episodes. Boom, I told you we was going to do it. Yeah. Then all the way from ATL, Georgia, straight, my guy in crime, the Trap King, Sterling Davis. What's up, baby?
What's going on? What's going on?
Show, because this person today that we're going to spend the next 45 minutes with had a profound effect on Chicago, animal industry, profound effect on me. First time I met her, I liked her out the gate. for sure. I need a round of applause for Susan Russell. Oh my God. I'm really, and then you know Sterling, right?
Oh, I do. I met Sterling in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
In Philly, and then I just got to jump right into my Susan Russell story. So we met, and I don't know, and I honestly, and you might remember, but I don't know why I was in your office. I don't know what I was there for. I was there for something. I was there. I came to see you for something. We were sat there for a while talking, and then our beautiful connection is your first book. I don't know if it was at your first book, but the one with the bullets.
Well, it's kind of the first big book. Yeah, you made a Ruff Road Home.
And we're sitting there and we're talking, and something from my past came up was mixed up mutts, where myself and my friend Steven, we've created a program called Mixed Up Mutts, where we're training veterans. I'm sorry, not veterans. We're training inmates at Westville State Prison in Indiana, and one of the gentlemen who I trained at the prison, he made it into your book. And somehow you and I were talking, and that came up, and that just warmed my heart that that guy who worked really hard to train dogs.
Steve Lackey, my friend. Is that Steve? I think that was.
Just because, that was a big deal, a real big turning point in my career of like training inmates, because, we give up on people a lot of times. We don't give them a second chance. And we were super blessed to be able to go into the system and to train people to train dogs. And those guys are so attentive. They love those dogs. It was super hard. I was really heartbroken when the state canceled that program. But that made me happy, though, when you had him in your book. How did you even find him? I can't remember. How did that come about?
Well, because of Safe Humane Chicago.
Okay.
And so this whole book, and I'm just going to turn to the section where he is. But you're absolutely right. I mean, these programs are very important, and they are continuing in many cities and in many prisons. And in Philadelphia as well. The New Leash on Life brings dogs from the open intake shelter into the prisons to be trained, to get a second chance. And like you say, I mean, people and animals, they deserve a second chance. And animals, and to have animals go into the prison that might otherwise have been euthanized, come out better dogs, people coming out better people. With a skill set, I mean, really, that's a win-win. If you can have 5 of them, it's one of those. And in Chicago as well, Cook County has been bringing the dogs in from Chicago Animal Care and Control. I mean, these programs are absolutely invaluable. And what Safe Humane was doing, and the reason I wrote this book to benefit Safe Humane and everyone who contributed. Josh Feeney with his absolutely incredible photography. I love that picture. That's one of my favorite pictures. What's that?
Can I see it one more time?
Absolutely. Look at the face on that. Look. And this book was almost roughly the size of a coffee table. It was designed by Christian Henry, and I wrote it, edited by Susan Palmer Marshall, and Josh Feeney, who's been photographing animals at Chicago Animal Care and Control, Safe Humane, to get them second chances, get them noticed. He did all of his work pro bono. And this book, I think, features stories, like you say, of hope, of hope and change. And that's why there's not many of them left, by the way. But if you do want one, go to Safe Humane Chicago.
I got to brag. So Susan Russell, for you all that don't know who she is, she was the director at Chicago Animal Care Control. She came here and really brought us into the future. Being a child, all the way from the town was a dirty place that you got dogs off, or you maybe went there to look for a dog, to a place that, when I first started working there in 2020 as a dog trainer, it was dirty. It was, we euthanized animals, all the way to when I met Susan. It was a place that people wanted to go to. It had family activities there. It was a place of compassion. Just Susan's energy and what you offered to the community
It's just, like I told you beforehand, like I can see I'm a veteran in the industry. I've met thousands of people. You are definitely, both you and Sterling. That's why I feel so blessed that you all are here right now, because you all are definitely pillars in the animal. You're influencers in the animal industry. But then not only are you an animal advocate and a director, that's a big job to direct. Because a lot of times people think about animal control, they're thinking dogs and cats. They're not thinking about dogs, cats, raccoons, possums, crocodiles, snakes.
Yeah, and directors at open intake shelters deal with all of that. And when I was in Chicago, we certainly dealt with all of that, and the directors following dealt with all of that. It is not just cats and dogs; it's everything. You're absolutely correct.
And so
thank you for that.
And you're spectacular too, because while you're saving the animal kingdom, some way in there you have time to be a lawyer, which I love that.
Well, no. I want to be clear. I'm right now I'm a lawyer, and I did that work for about 3 years. So I was heading up Chicago Animal Care and Control, and then I went to Philadelphia and did it for just under a year, and then I went back to legal work.
And it doesn't stop there.
No, it never stops.
At the end of this show, before the show is over, we'll pay attention to the clock because we got a lot of stuff to talk about. But you and Chanelli Nail have something in common, and I'm putting Chanelli Nail on the spot. I know I have to put Susan on the spot because Susan loves to do this, and I would be remiss not to have some beautiful, world-class
come on.
vocal from Susan and Chanel. Boom. I'm saying it right there.
What?
Chanel's an amazing singer. She tries to fake it.
I'm not. Cut it out.
She'll jump on the phone and have like an entire Aretha Franklin. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know you were on the phone yet. And Susan is just a musical. And Susan's spectacular. So Chanel,
that's strong. That's strong. Now Chanel probably yes, but I'm
Susan. He exaggerates way too much.
He really does, but I bet you're really good. I know where I stand.
No,
yeah.
I've heard me.
So let's get into it, Susan. Tell us about your book.
I'd love to tell you about my book. So after I left sheltering, I decided to get back into writing a bit more. And my friend and I, Lucy Noland, who was with an anchor on Fox News here in Chicago, when she left Fox News and I left the shelter, we decided to start a little company. So we started a little publishing company because why not? We had so many stories, and we got together over a wonderful meal and broke bread and drank wine, and we came up with a series that we thought would be important because when I was at the head of these shelters, I realized the trap neuter return is probably and Trap King, you can tell this better than I can, but I can tell you from the perspective of someone who's in the shelter and making some of the decisions regarding euthanasia of unwanted pets. Trap neuter return is one of the most incredible life-saving innovations that any town, state, country can adopt to help control cat populations humanely and allow these beautiful creatures to live out their lives in the best way they can. Obviously, there's hundreds of thousands of cats in cities.
Let me interrupt you, because that has come up every time we talk. What does that mean to humanely handle cats?
Humanely. Well, let's talk about that. Humanely, I think, in my definition of humane, it's allowing creatures who are not irremediably suffering or not vicious and causing public harm to live out their lives in a manner that they can without suffering. And certainly one way to control populations of cats is to ensure they are trap neutered and returned and hopefully cared for properly in a colony by caretakers. So the bottom line is, if you didn't do these types of things, like you got Trap King out there helping communities understand that you can capture kittens and cats And for the super friendlies, you can get a lot of those into good homes. For those who are actually feral, i.e. like wild animals, you can ear tip them, you can ensure that they are sterilized, you can vaccinate them, get them back out into their communities, and let them live out their lives. I mean, we have cities, let's face it, Chicago and Philly, they have a lot of rats. I mean, there's an incredible benefit beyond the humane one, which is keeping them out of the shelters. Once those cats go into the shelters, pretty much if they're feral, if there were no other choice for them, they would be euthanized. I think for many of us who love animals, that's an unacceptable solution. That's not a humane solution. That's an unacceptable solution. Unless, of course, they are irremediably suffering. That cannot be cured with anything except humane euthanasia. So what we wanted to do with our book series was try to get the word out, we call it a series for a laurophiles of all ages. I've always loved that word, a laurophile, because it sounds a little mysterious, but really, that's all of us. That's cat lovers. So what we're trying to do is show that they're in a fun way, because our characters, they carry cell phones, even though they have 4 legs. I mean, our characters are pretty fun, but we want to show people that cats can be happy, not necessarily in a home, especially if indeed they are cared for by a good colony caretaker. And Trap King, you can elaborate on this far better than I can, because you see it right up close. But when you give a community a solution like this, you also get the added benefit, like Chicago and Philly, of a little bit more rodent control. Okay, I'm not saying that there's still not a lot of rodents around, because I don't think we'll ever necessarily get rid of them, but they certainly do help. And I know in Chicago, you've got programs where people can bring a little colony. You can, and the caretaker gets the benefit of the rodent control, which is, not poisonous, and the cats are well cared for by the caretaker. So again, win.
And I've told a ton of people that before, that, hey, you want to do TNR, you want the cats to come back to help with the rodent control, because I'm not going to come back and catch the rats. I catch the cats, but I'm not coming back to catch the rats. That's what I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
So it's best to let the cats do their thing.
Let them do their thing. Let them do what they do best. Yeah.
Susan, this question for both Susan and Trap. I mean, because a lot of times, and I feel embarrassed for saying this on behalf of Chicago, but I know back in the 80s that was a thing. People would kill cats because there were so many of them. People would poison them. People would throw bricks and stuff at them. Get that cat out of my yard, because no one wanted cats peeing on their lawn furniture. No one wanted cat. A litter of kittens wasn't something like, a litter of kittens. It was like, like they were treated like vermin. You mean like, oh God, there's more cats, all these damn cats, and they're going in the garbage. It was like,
sure.
So, there's such a miseducation about cats being, not first class citizens in the animal world, but second class. And then 2, a lot of times people don't think about, like Chicago, we have the largest rat population in the entire country. Like, for sure. Like, I've just told Chicago.
That's crazy.
No,
I didn't even know that.
But it's true. It's a pretty ratty thing. But the thing is, I think since the 80s, I mean, you look at the 80s compared to now, we are on the continuum of compassion, I think, in animal welfare management.
I love that.
But it is a continuum of compassion, because in the 80s, you're absolutely right. I mean, dogs were running everywhere, cats were everywhere, and quite frankly, they would come in and they would be euthanized by the hundreds in open intake shelters, because there was no other way to control. It's not that there was no other way, it's just the innovation had not been realized, accepted. Because even when you have a great innovation that's a win-win-win-win, it doesn't start with just saying, okay, let's do this. You've got to convince people that it's even a good idea. So this continuum of compassion, in the 80s, the amount of euthanasia that was being done in open intake shelters was absolutely awful. It was awful for people who had to do it. It was awful for the animals. We've gotten now to 2020, where we have, best friends out there showing the no-kill model can be done. You've got Austin Animal Shelter, you've got Chicago, you've got Philadelphia, you've got all these places that are really, really embracing that no-kill philosophy, which is, You're not going to euthanize for space, but you're going to find for all the healthy and treatable animals, you're going to try to get those into situations like families, or with regard to community cats, into good, healthy situations outside. Where they're cared for. So I think what we have seen is that the euthanasia rates in these open intake shelters have gone down because these innovations have not only happened, they've also been promoted and communicated, and people get educated. You got Trap King out there doing the most education for people who probably, some people probably just think they get rid of those animals, they're pests. So Trap King is helping communities understand they're not pests. But we also can't have them, out there getting, hit by car. There's a risk to all animals that live outside. We know that. But you also want to ensure they're cared for. So it's not just the innovation of getting the cat out, getting it neutered, spayed, and then vaccinated and back out there. It's talking to people to convince them that these animals probably should live, and they should live out their lives with us in the communities. and that's an education. I mean, talk about it, Trap King. That's a huge education.
That's one of the things that I learned, because at first when I started, I was just going out every night, every day, just trapping as many cats as I can. And I was doing it, and I felt that I would make a dent and I would help colonies. But what I learned quickly is, like what you said, why I love what you and Lucy doing with the books is the education of it. That's so important. And then to make it look fun and appealing more so than just something that's just so bad, because I've come across so many people, and like you said, they feel like this is just a bunch of cats, it's just bad, I don't like it. So a lot of it is getting people to understand that cats aren't bad, that TNR is a humane population control, and that makes it good if you like cats, and if you don't like cats, it's still a positive thing. It's still humane population control. So the education of it all is just out of this world important. Because at first, for me, and like a lot of people, I was just going out trapping myself. Like I was just getting all the cats I can, setting traps everywhere. I'm trying to trap 40 cats in one night. Like that was always the thing. And now, as I move forward, I understand that the education is a big component. That's why your books, you and Lucy doing, that's amazing. That's a big deal.
40 a night is a lot. I seen your videos on Instagram. I'm like, look at him with your
he's amazing. Yeah, he's amazing.
But tiptoes, and he's like, come on.
But you see what they're doing too, which I love even more, but not even more than what you actually do, but just below that.
Did we lose her?
We lost her vocals.
Oh, wait. Susan, you there? Did it go?
Is Podbeam acting up again?
She has to log back in.
Can you hear me? I'm so
Okay,
sorry.
we can hear you now.
Oh, there she is. We hear you.
I get spammed an awful lot. But what I was saying with Trap King, and I mean, you have these incredible personalities, because another problem with actually educating and getting the message out is being cool to people, to make it look fascinating. You look at Trap King, you want to do that. You look at Cowboy Bob, you look at Deputy Diane. This is well, Trap King's not Philadelphia, but in Philadelphia we got like Cowboy Bob and Mad Catter. We've got we've got this incredibly cool bunch of folks, and same in Chicago. They've got personalities. Personalities get attention, and it's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant, because I think half of what has helped this innovation become cool and something people want to do, and something that people embrace. It's not all about listening to, they all killed the birds, so you got to get rid of the cats. It's more about bringing people along, but you can't do that unless you get their attention. And clutter busting these days is damn difficult, and you've done it. I mean, I love nothing more than going on Facebook and watching these guys. I love it. I absolutely love it.
And shout out to Cowboy Bob and Angelo too, like you said. I'm glad you mentioned them. Bob and Angelo,
and Deputy Diane. And Deputy Diane. I mean, from Philadoptables. I mean, honestly, we've got some incredible personalities, and like we in Philadelphia, like there's Catadelphia, there are various organizations you can turn to if you want to trap neuter, return and get involved, you can find these in Philadelphia, you can find them in Chicago. And that's really what you want to get nationwide, is that this, when it comes to handling the cat populations humanely, you actually have the resources. And Trap King, you do the how-tos on your site. If people want to learn how to, if they're afraid of it, if they can go to Trap King, they can go to these resources and learn how to do it. And I love that, because it's not easy to clutter bust. It's just not, right? It's not easy to get the message out there. But I actually met Trap King here in person when he was, I think you were at CatCon or something. You were at one of the big events, right?
I can't remember which one it was. Which event it was.
I can't either, but you and Cowboy Bob and Mad Catter, you all came down to Philadelphia Animal Care and Control, which is where I was at the time. And we had a late night chatting and doing a video. And I got to tell you, that was one of the best posts I'd ever done that got attention, was the three of you dudes on it. So
that was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun. And
it was like a magnet.
We had just dealt with a situation where we was helping a woman that had been attacked while trying to feed a cat colony. So we was going back and actually helping that situation, which was wild. But again, like you said, I love the fact of, like you say, making it fun and known and popular, because that is a big deal. It's so many people, it's so many amazing women that trained me and was doing this before me, but they didn't have that online thing and, all of these people following them. So that's a lot of what I try to do, is to highlight those people and get the word out there in a fun way. And that's what you and Lucy doing. That's such a big deal. At first, I didn't even know that was so important. It was just like, let me go out and trap all the cats that I can. And then I had to take a step back and say, I have to get more people engaged. I have to empower other people to want to do this as well.
Yeah.
And I want to
it's incredibly important.
And this is just a synergy of animals, because I met Trap in Austin at an event where we met, and then Susan, we were here in Chicago. Now you're out there, and I'm learning so much as I'm listening to you all talk, like, regarding cats, because dog community, yes, we have characters and things of that nature. The Wolfkeeper, the dog with. But I feel like in the cat industry, it's drilled down even more. There's more detailed to it, because it's like kind of the pro and con of cat second class citizens. There's more organizations that work and do things on a very drilled down level. Case in point, the cat detective that we had on here, Kelly Freeman, that if you have a lost cat, she's basically like the Cherokee of tracking. Like, she's like, I find a whisper and I know to go west. Like that. I've been bragging. That blew my mind. Like yesterday, our host that strictly is raising money for people that cat emergency, vet bills. Like, that's her thing. So I want to raise money. There's so many. Let me ask. Here's my question. Where I'm going with this is, there are certain parts in the world that both cats and dogs are second-class citizens, such as Costa Rica, for example. There's dogs everywhere. They're like vermin. Like, there's just street dog, a plethora of street dogs.
Oh, wow.
Cats, you're going to just see them walking around. They trap and they poison them, There's areas in Jamaica, like there's dogs, there's wild dogs just like out, under, you might see like a litter of puppies under a van, or you might just see cats that are out there. Either the cats are maybe just utility purposes only. The dogs might just be scavengers. It's like, if Susan Russell and Sterling Davis, and I'm gonna plop you in, San Jose, Costa Rica, and that, I know that'd be a terrible place to get plopped. But say you're there, but while you're plopped there, your job is to educate and to set up an animal care control, knowing what as far as you all both kept saying the same word, and this kept coming up, going 20 days into CAT-Tober, humane, which makes me think like, well, damn, cats must be difficult. We have to keep re-emphasizing, don't kill, humanely do it, in comparison to like don't kill a cat. Don't let population control be cyanide. Don't let population control be throwing bricks or letting your pit bull attack cats, because that's an issue, because we keep saying it. Be humane. So if you had to set up an operation, just a question for both of you. I'll start with you first, Susan. If you guys had to set up an operation in a country like Costa Rica, I'm just picking on that because I know I've been there. I've seen it firsthand. I doubt a lot has changed since I was there. That was that long ago. Overpopulation of animals, dogs and cats specifically, and just culturally, like, why would you want to trap a cat, spend money on it, and put it back? If you trap it, get rid of it,
Right.
Or why would you, this dog is feral. He runs around. His best job is being my garbage disposal. Why would you spend money on vaccinating him and then finding him a home and doing all this? How would you even go about that? Because I'm asking that question because it kind of will let people know how far Chicago has come from. Because when I was growing up, there was, you probably remember some of this. I'm
very young, Toriano. No,
I'm old.
I just want to clarify that.
But I'm saying, like, I'm old enough to remember when we had stray dogs. There was always a pack of dogs in the alley.
Well, I'm going to start where I was growing up, and I'll tell you right now, minds, hearts, everything hopefully evolves toward and bends toward more compassion for all living creatures. We all hope that happens as a society, right? I grew up in St. John's, Newfoundland, okay? Most easterly province of Canada. I'll tell you right now, when I was growing up, I had a wonderful dog named Laddie. My father called him a purebred killer dog. He was not. However, he was never neutered. He ran out the door every morning. We just let him out. All right, I am old. Fine. Okay. Bottom line is, I wouldn't do that today. Because I've learned, and as have many, and we can just talk about the United States, because of course, Costa Rica might be able to teach us a few things about sustainability when it comes to the environment, right? We all got things to teach one another, but even in our own country, when I came from Canada to the States, the conditions at open intake shelters, I'd say nationwide, were pretty much the same, right? I mean, we accepted the fact that hundreds of thousands, millions of animals would be euthanized in a shelter every year. 20 years forward, we are now being educated and believe, and our ideology has changed towards other beings to the point where we think community-based solutions are the leading edge way to manage humanely populations of animals and to find them loving homes. I'll tell you an example that I love when it comes to the evolution of compassion and kindness and insight and getting rid of ignorance is when it comes to pit bull type dogs. This was something that was one of my main pet peeves, if you would, in open intake shelters. These were truly second class dog citizens, the pit bull type dogs. And I will never say that all pit bull type dogs, which are mostly mixes, oh my God, you're not a pit bull type dog, are you? No. What do you got there? That's some gorgeous.
A golden doodle. A spoiled one.
It looks like spoiled one. I was going to say that's a spoiled collie. But going back to the pit bull type dog situation, and that's another reason why I wrote a Ruff Road Home, is that pit bull type dogs have always been stigmatized and unfairly so, much like feral cats, unfairly so. And science never kept up with the BS that would be going on about pit bull type dogs. Oh, they're a this, they're a that, they're a whatever. Animal Farm Foundation starts pushing the all dogs are individuals. And of course, shelter killing becomes unacceptable. And what we start seeing is that these dogs are now starting to be treated like dogs, like the dogs they are, not like any kind of non-breed that they are or breed that they are. You can have good, bad, and ugly in every breed, every species, doesn't matter. But they're all treated as individuals. And I think that's the evolution of thought that needs to inform that, and community-based management needs to inform.
I like what you said about community-based, because that's one of the main things that has to come about. And that's like with my mission, like what you were saying, Toriano, to answer your question with that, is getting people engaged in a different way. Like if I was to go somewhere else, to go to another country, and what I'm actually trying to do here in America is people are growing up desensitized. You see dead animals on the side of the road like possums, raccoons, so they don't have the compassion in that area. So one of the main things that I want to do is like a fraternity and sorority based on TNR. You think of Sons of Anarchy meets Cat Rescue. You got leather jackets with patches for how many lives that's been saved, and doing things to get people engaged in different ways, because people may like that. Like a lot of, I lived in California before. There was the gang population, even in Chicago too. The gangs are out of this world. You got a lot of people that want to be a part of something, and something like, you imagine a fraternity sorority, the Trap King, Trap Queen fraternity sorority, where people can get into something that's positive and help in their community. It's just different ways to get people engaged. Like in music, y'all, Toriano, I know you know this, because in music, one of the main things you want to do is get your music to cross genres, to get more people to hear it. And that's what I want to do with Rescue, is get more people into it. And if that takes something like a fraternity or sorority, if it takes,
or even getting our kids involved. Yeah, our kids, like we could get the kids involved, like get them more engaged, because they've lost out a lot of community oriented activities. You know, so
that's really key. You're absolutely
we gotta
right.
hook up and read. We gotta hook up and go to some schools and read these books too. I think it's important. Right.
But Janelle, to your point too, and I mean, looking at the current, I mean, this is a little unprecedented for all of us. This COVID-19 isolation, and to your point, I think, and I don't have kids, but I can see it, and I watch the news all the time. It is affecting people not being able to connect. I mean, some of us become more hermit-like as we get older. Not a big deal not to have to be around people. But let's face it, when we were growing up, most of us enjoyed our collegiality with our friends. And I think part of, Trap King, to your point, community-based means bringing people together and having the conversation. And you're not going to convert everybody.
Right.
Man, and so many.
Did you see that, Bob?
I love everyone got their animals.
That's Bentley.
He's bugging
today. This is Bob. Look at
Bob.
Say hi, Bentley. You're here.
Susan, you and Trap and Chanel, you all. I just had all these. I'm like sitting here just like taking notes. I just saw like 1,000 business plans just happen.
Are you taking account of how good looking this cat is? That's all I want to know.
She's so calm. Look, Billy needs to be like that. He wants to be the star.
Well, he should be. He should be. He's far better looking than any of us.
Hey, number one, Susan, I'm glad that you didn't go too deep into it, but you said it just enough. I want to apologize to the people of Costa Rica, because as soon as you started talking, I thought someone was like, wait a minute, you don't even have to go to Costa Rica, because there's people in Southern Illinois that
I need to go.
They're like, Costa Rica's like, stay out of our country. You all got
right.
There's places in America you all don't believe in.
You gonna get some hate mail. You gonna get some hate mail like I get from the bird people. You gotta calm down.
So all the Costa Ricans out there, take it back, because we definitely we can start right here in our backyard, because obviously, of course, when you go like different southern Illinois, and shout out to all the people at what's the Christie at they do tons of puppies that come up from Southern Illinois.
Canine Enrichment. There's a lot of them that help down Southern Illinois as well.
I didn't know that was. As soon as you said that, thank you, Susan, because it made me remember of like how many that there's places where there's a plethora of puppies. A lot of times we don't think that that's still existing in America, or that there's areas that dogs are considered permanent. Like there's like they're spayed and neutered. Keep your damn dog off my property, right? Yeah. They're not going to.
So we have a lot of work. We have a lot of work to do. Policies. I mean, let's face it. If it's supported from the top, and you've got a wonderful base that's it can either come from bottom up or it can come from top down. It's fabulous if the leadership of a state decides, or city, or what have you, to create and enforce humane legislation related to animals. That's important, right? That's important. You look at Austin, you look at some of these places where this is actually enshrined in legislation, and you do see that starts to become part of the ethos of the city. You look at Chicago. I look at Chicago, and I've always admired it because it didn't come from the top down. It came from all the community-based organizations and the nonprofits and the shelter gradually came along, but we did not have a lot of progressive political push for what needed to get done. It evolved, but when it comes, so I do think there's a couple ways it can happen, and that's that you get like this huge groundswell of the community that forces it, or you have some edict from the top down that gets implemented and funded, and that's key too, funding, money,
funding. That is the reason. That is the reason I'm getting this RV. I'm about to travel the world to do this, so I can help people with funding that don't have a crazy social media stuff, and shine a light on some of this stuff and help people with funding.
Well, and you just brought another awesome point too, that in Chicago, it came from the bottom up. And I feel like that's why I'm giving you a lot of props. I know you didn't do it by yourself. Lots of people were there.
Definitely never did it by myself. Nothing gets done by ourselves.
I can, being a pet, because I'm an animal advocate, you know what I mean? I give towards charity. We donate tons of training, but I'm a business, so I look at time periods and here my time in Chicago or whatever city I've been in as far as who's the director of animal care control, because we deal with them. You guys do our inspections of our businesses. If there's legal issues whatsoever, they're our president and king and queen of whatever reign is happening. So during your reign, just playing off that metaphor, it was a very enlightening period here in Chicago because I've seen a lot, and that's not taking anything from the people, your predecessors, or the people that came after you. I'm just saying it was being in the industry for 20 years, and I've seen animal care controls when I lived in Burbank, California, dealing with those guys. I've seen it in Canoga, California. I've seen it in DC. I've seen it in Houston. I've seen it in New Orleans. I've seen it in Minnesota. I've seen it in Germany. I mean, I've seen it in a lot of different places. I can say that Seattle, I can say that your style of management was super refreshing, and it pushed and it left a permanent stamp. And because it was very inviting. Because when I was at Animal Care Control, it wasn't a place you would go to hang out or even at all, or it wasn't a place of community. It was a place of it was one shot. The dog's lost or a dog getting destroyed. It wasn't all these other components. So that part, and Trap, you made me think of another thing too, that you brought up, is that there is an in vogueness to this, like Trap King, Wolfkeeper, Cowboy Bob, the Pet Detective, Caesar Milan, the Dog Whisperer. There's Jackson Galaxy, and that's new in the animal industry too, more so than ever. And that we need more of that branding, because it's the branding that ends up generating the money to help the animals, because it can't be done. It's expensive,
It's very expensive. Yeah, it sure is, and that's why I'm glad too. Like in addition to the corporate push, because you do see Subaru, you see different companies that are getting involved and putting that push behind, adopt animals, look at the shelters, look at this. But you also have these marvelous national organizations like the Best Friends and the HSUS and all of these large organizations that are really putting that push against, a more humane approach to animals nationwide. And it's exciting because it's almost like all of these forces have to work together.
Oh, amen. Well,
all of these forces.
I want to say it right here before putting it out there that I see this right here being a tour. I want to see a tour happening right here. Like, for sure.
We gotta wait till COVID's over. COVID's over, Toriana. I'm not young. That's true.
We all got these things.
I need a book. I need to step my game up.
I'm giving you a book, Chanel. I'm giving you a book. Books for everyone.
Get a book for Bentley. Get a Bentley book.
I'm saying COVID forced the animal people to keep it together and to bring it together.
But I think it did another thing, Toriano, and I was talking to you about this before the show, and it's been an absolute disaster from humanity's perspective, COVID. Terrible, terrible, horrible thing, there's no question. But from the animals' perspective, homeless animals' perspective, I know there's a number of shelters that were able to show that in a case of absolute dire emergency, animals could get out and get fostered. And a lot of them could get even adopted. A lot of shelters are not dealing with the populations they were dealing with at the beginning of COVID. And that's phenomenal because shelters are not places to keep animals for any length of time. So I think that almost contributed to an enlightenment that it could be done. It can get done. Sometimes you need a crisis to show you what can get done, right? And I think COVID-19, well, for shelters anyway, many of them, not all of them, but many of them had this great, exodus of animals go into homes because people were home, and they still are, unfortunately. So well, fortunately for the animals, but I think it's really been a wake-up call that we don't have to operate like we did. There are new ways of doing things. And the crisis kind of pushed us to realizing that. I think CACC has had fewer animals in it than it's ever had, which is unbelievably amazing, right? I mean, that's amazing. And that's the way it should stay.
Right.
That's the way it should stay. They come in, they go out. Right. Or depending on their situation, of course.
I was pumped up to talk to you about, man, so much stuff, so much information you have pumped out in this hour. Where's the best place? Where can we post and find the book?
Oh my goodness, the book. So this one, Gata Unbound, which is volume 1, and books 1 and 2 are in here. It's all illustrated by the amazing artist Katie Lacey. This is presently available on our website, www.archimedesprintingshoppe.com, and shop has 2 P's and an E because why would we make this easy on anybody? So it is www.archimedesprintingshoppe with 2 P's and an E.com. The other one is coming out in December, but you can pre-order it, and this is volume 2, and it contains books 3 and 4. It's gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous. Look at these end pages. But our artist is as you can see, the oranges tend to always get on the cover, which has really ticked off my tabby cat. But they're all available. And Ruff Road Home, if you're interested in that book, that is available on Safe Humane's website, www.safehumanechicago.org. And there are still a few copies. What's that?
That's a fabulous book.
I got to tell you, that's one of my absolute favorite books to have written because the power of throwaway animals to enrich people's lives and to realize that they should never have been thrown away in the first place is unbelievable. And this book showed how it takes a whole bunch of heroes, and that's what we've been talking about today too, right? It takes everybody rowing the boat in the same direction to get these animals the second chance. And like you say, Trap King Sterling, I keep calling you Trap King because I think that's so.
It's all good.
I love Trap King, but the thing is, I mean, it take. I hate the old cliche, but I mean, you got to have everybody on board to make what you want to happen. And really, when you think about it, trap, neuter, return, there's really no downside to that. If you believe that the animals deserve to live, there's no downside to it.
Right.
I love that. There's no downside to it.
There's no downside.
Animal. Hey, with that said, before we end this show, I'm a man of my word. I thought I was going to put Susan and Chanel on the spot, but I'm throwing Trap in there too, because he's from the music industry, and I commend him so much for putting the music industry on the side to dedicate his life to animals. I'm going to choose the song. I need because Susan is an artist. Is an artist. She'll take the lead. Chanel will jump in there. Trap will come in on the back end, and I'll let y'all all know.
No pressure.
Yeah, no pressure.
Let's do it.
Oh wow.
We all have sorrow. Lean on me.
Oh, she
Nope.
was saying.
Hey,
I don't even know the words.
we all have sorrow. It won't.
We know that
There's always tomorrow. Lean on me
On me.
when you're not strong. Come on, shout. I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on. No, it won't be long. I'm gonna need
Somebody
to lean on. Lean on me.
Hey.
Look, everybody listening, like, what in the world is going on right now?
I think we need to go on tour. I'm just saying.
I'll be your background singer, Susan. You got vocals.
Oh no, you won't, Janelle. I can hear you.
You got vocals, girl.
No. I've got what you call a good shower voice. It's a good shower voice or car voice. Car voice, you know. Lean on me.
See?
When you're not strong.
She got soul.
Susan got some soul off in that voice.
I know.
Yeah, I have given some of the best living room performances per my father. That is correct.
Susan is a performer. Don't sleep. She is a performer also. Of
Nice.
everything else. This has been an amazing show. Susan Russell, thank you. I'm for real. I would be in New York
That's fine.
November 21st through the 25th.
Don't you get on an airplane, Toriano.
Don't get on the airplane.
I'm going to be an old nag
Nothing.
right now. Don't you do that.
You're gonna be
Susan, nothing's stopping him.
Oh, my dear, don't get on an airplane. Drive it. Don't.
Drive
Nothing's
it.
stopping
Get
him.
yourself a hazmat suit and a portable oxygen container. But don't go getting on planes.
We're all good. I'm using Chanel's positivity. We're all good. If I
I don't
don't,
want you to get sick.
no, we can't. We can't. We're
Are you all getting on a plane?
We're getting out of the lines. We're resilient.
I'm gonna have to go pick them up in the RV.
But I don't see you this year. I'm for real. I'm saying it right now. The world. I'm calling it right now. You will see a whole Susan Russell, Track King, Toriano Sanzoni co-host Daily Mail tour. I'm putting that energy out there right now.
That's good energy. You got good energy.
Hey, Susan, thank
This
you.
has been the cheapest thrill today. Thank you, Chanel. Track King, Sterling. It's been great to see you. Read the book, man. Read the
Thank you
book.
so much. Definitely.
Love you all so much. Peace until tomorrow. Go out there and love somebody. Give all your heart and know, like Gandhi said, our culture will be judged by the treatment of our animals. So be good to the animal and be good to each other. Toriano Sanzoni, peace and love. Thank y'all.
Peace.
Peace.